Hey, in this video I'm going to show you basically how I start beginners and I show them how to build a really solid golf swing from the ground up. It's so simple. Even people who have never picked up a club before, almost always by the end of the first lesson are hitting shots in the air and dead straight every single time. What more can you ask for out of your very first lesson? Now, you can also get better, even if you're an experienced golfer with lots of bad habits. If you can just focus on these three things I'm going to cover coming up, I think you're going to make a huge improvement in your striking. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I hope you get enough value out of this video and you're hitting the ball so good that you're going to run over to the like button and hit the subscribe button as well. Okay, so when I'm teaching absolute beginners for the very first time, I haven't even showed them yet how to put their hands on the club. I think there's something more basic that even comes before that, and that is the visualization, kind of the mental image of the shape of a good golf swing. How, what my mentor Mike Austin used to say, there's only one line in golf, Sonny. That's the line that you want to hit your ball at the flag, dead straight. The rest of everything is curves and arcs and planes. So the notion of the correct arc and how that will hit the ball straight is number one of importance that I teach beginners. So I start to show them the club has to arc while the club face stays on that arc. So the club arcs to the inside with the face of the club still kind of pointing at it like this. And as we come back down again, that club face just travels right around the arc. And then back around the arc the other way with the face again staying square to the arc. If you can get that in just this space, focus on that, I think you can go a long way towards letting the momentum of that motion carry you further back and further through a little at a time, and sooner before you know it, you're hitting the ball really, really straight and clean every time. Let's take a look at three actions you can build one at a time, step by step like a ladder, that will help you develop this beautiful swing that just works every time so good. I will ask the beginner, are you a mother? Are you a father? How would you show a child? How does a fish swim? You go like this. Well, it swims like this. I'm like, that's the motion we're going to use. We're going to use the fish swim. So what that would do is swim this way, swim this way. See? Swim, swim. What this essentially does is, if you bow down to the ball and do that, it's going to advance the club. Isolate that. It'll advance the club approximately 1 hour on a perfect arc with the club face square to that arc. You could actually hit a ball like this. Watch this. Dead straight, perfectly in the sweet spot, just isolating to that. So right there, you can simplify the impact zone, control the club face, control the arc, control the strike in the center of the face, start hitting pure shots just with that alone. But we need to go farther than that. That was 20 yards, 15 yards in the air. Unless you're playing a little par 3 course, it's not going to cut it, right? So let's start to add more. What we'd like to do ideally is that every motion that we make, as we add more joints, continues to lengthen the golf swing along that same arc, with the club face still square to that arc all the way back and all the way through. Let's add a second motion. If I were to just draw the arm from the side of my body, just past maybe to the other side of my body, that would be about a 1 hour wind-up. Then I take the right arm from my right side of the body and put it over on the left. And that's an hour of follow through. So if you bow to the ball, here's another potential hour of swing. If I just swing the arms back No wrist on this. We can add that in a second, but just left arm across, right arm across. You can see club face is square to the arc. And again, I can just chip it down the middle with a 1 hour golf swing. Now, thirdly, I can add the rest of the big muscles and joints of the body in what we might sometimes call a pivot. Now, you watch what happens. I'll drop the club for this. I am going to slightly do a shift of the right hip laterally, bring the left knee flexing towards the middle, and roll to the inside and lift the heel slightly. That action is going to spur or trigger my torso to start to wind up. So the carnival ride starts to wind up. Watch this. No arm, no wrist, simply a pivot. Simple, right? Right hip, left knee to the center, towards the center. Roll the pressure onto the inside of my left foot, starting to lift the heel just enough to crack a piece of paper underneath. And that advances my arm, not independently. The arm is acting dependently on the pivot. And again, we get 1 hour. Now I'm going to pivot through, equal and opposite. Left hip laterally down the line, right knee towards the center, roll the pressure to the inside of the foot and slightly lift the heel. Mirror image. Wind the club 1 hour, exit the club 1 hour. Look at that from the ball's perspective. No arm, no wrist. I'm going to lock them. Pivot, pivot, and by gosh, I'm bringing that club back about an hour on the dial, following through about an hour on the dial. That club is following a perfect arc, and the club face is staying dead square to that arc, meaning very little issue with the ball going offline. Let's do a little chip shot again with that 1 hour pivot. This will be no wrist, no arms, and no effort. No effort at all. Just make the motion slow and rhythmically. Here we go. Pivot, pivot. And again, the ball goes dead straight down the fairway. Now, the trick now is to make those things all additive. And although it's only additive, it's going to have results that are multiplicative. There's a great word. The results are going to multiply. So we can now build a 3 hour swing out of this if we combine all three. Now remember, all three actions move the club on a perfect arc and keep the club face perfectly square to that arc. So all three of them together should net the same thing but longer. So here comes the pivot. And 1. Here comes the arm across the body. 2. Here comes the fish swim. 3. Now we've got a 3 hour swing. The club face perfectly square to the arc. Now we're going to reverse everything and mirror image it on the other side. So now we're going to shift over, let the right arm go through an hour, and flap the wrist or make the fish swim this way. And that gives us 3 hours, 3 hours. With that shot, I believe I can get a very reliable, about 60, 70 yards with the 9-iron with the rollout. Again, no effort, just, there we go. Yep, right about 55 yards in the air, rolling out to 60 or 70. Actually, a shot you could use in certain situations to roll the ball right up on the green. Knock the flag down possibly because it's going so accurately. The club face is just tracking beautifully through the impact zone. Let's see, do one more. Adding the 3 hours together. Pivot, arms, wrists. Here we go. 3 hour swing. Same shot. Same distance. Probably could have thrown a hula hoop over those two shots where they finished up. Most importantly, besides perfect arc and the perfect club face control, so third thing you're getting out of this, as soon as you learn how to dependently advance the arms without using the arms, and that is pivot, that winds the shoulders until the handle gets to the right pocket, pivot through, left pocket. What this does is it will consistently get your low point in front of the ball. Kind of an extra little bonus you're getting. Really gives you the three of the maybe four major pillars of a perfect golf swing are control the path or the arc, the proper arc, control the face, the least amount of club face rotation through the impact zone, and make your low point in front of the ball so you can strike the ball first clean and then the turf second, so you can get the ball hitting the sweet spot, compressed, and really feeling solid out there. Now, usually in a beginner's lesson, a first-timer's lesson, I've given so many of these, especially to groups of people, it works great. 50 minutes or so into the hour, and they're really knocking their shots up in the air. Can't believe how far they're going compared to the effort that they're putting into it, which is like negligible. Then I start to demonstrate a 6-hour swing in both directions, and I usually leave them with that to play with at the end of the first lesson. So eventually the arms have to go across the body 2 hours for a full swing. So this is going to be a 1, 2, 3. 1 hour from the pivot, or the first hour. The arm will go 2, and then 3. 2 hours across. Now we're 3 hours into the swing. And I tell them the wrist is going to go 4, 5, 6 as it starts to approach 90 degrees. We still have the club on the arc, and we still have the face of the club square to the arc. We're going to do a shift over and a mirror image of that on the way through. And with the 9-iron, I can probably reliably get pretty close to 115, 120 yards in the air. Again, with an effort level of essentially 0, 6-hour swing. Just like that. And yep, awfully close to 120 yards carry. I'm not feeling any effort at all. I'm just making the motions. 1 hour, 2 hours at the arms, 3 hours at the wrist. Reverse everything through. I'll leave people with that, and then I'll start to watch as they start to carry tiny women, 5 feet tall, 100 pounds sometimes, as they start to take a 7-iron and knock it over 100 yards in the air, which is pretty impressive considering how smooth and effortless they're looking on their very first lesson. Hitting the sweet spot, hitting it clean in front of the ball. They've bypassed so many of the pitfalls that beginners strap to themselves and then keep sometimes for life. Chunking behind it, slicing it, having a poor plane, a poor path, bad control of the club face, no power. And you do all these things, it all comes. So remember how we built this. 1 + 1 + 1, the easiest math formula in the world, makes 3. Pivot to 1. Arm across to the elbow gets right into the midsection. There's the pivot. 1 hour, elbow to midsection. Make the fish swim. Reverse it, starting with the pivot back over again. Do that exercise, 1, 1, 1. Get the momentum going around the arc in the right direction. There we go. So sweet in the sweet spot. Such perfect strike of the divot. I would love to have everybody watching this who's struggling give this a try and see if you don't start getting a new leash on life and leash on your golf game, making it start to be fun again, because you're hitting the sweet spot clean, going down the middle of the fairway all the time. It becomes a fairly easy exercise after you've learned that 1, 2, 3. to let the momentum continue to carry you back and wind that club up further on the same direction, the same arc, and then through further, just letting it go with its momentum. Now, eventually by the second or third lesson, if we don't have to review too much, we start teaching them how to wind the trunk, use the shoulder blades, and start hitting it out there with significantly more power, enough to knock it towards the green in one shot on a par 3 potentially. If you have any questions about this, or you've tried it and you liked it, come back and leave a little comment down below. Like this if you got something out of it. Hit the subscribe button for more content like this. I love to make golfers improve. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Steve, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.